And we are live. Welcome back. It is another episode of the Lyrical Ones podcast. You're forever grateful, sometimes frustrated, but very thankful host, Sineo, Sineo. And with us, per usual, we have June. June, how are you doing?
Well, fantastic sin. It's a great day in LA, so it's beautiful. I woke up in a new country, so it's good.
That is what's up. I'm loving this energy. The dynamics are going to be incredible this episode. I can already tell. Alfluent, how we feeling?
Feeling excellent. Shout out to the folks watching on Twitch. Shout out to the folks watching on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. If you follow us on Twitter, click that link, tap in with us. We here, we live. It's 11/11 Veterans Day. Shout out to those veterans that took it upon themselves to defend the country um, with a dream worth defending.
Yeah,
with a
no, for
dream
real.
with a dream worth defending, and I think some days we move toward that dream and other days we move in somewhere completely different.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to my family, my friends, my colleagues, associates, people that I don't know. Shout out to you for, you know, the service, but also just, you know, taking that role seriously and, you know, being a provider of safety and definitely a figure of what who we are as a nation. So you're right. Like it is crazy. So with that, right, we are 11/11, as you said. The year is 2020. We are recording this 9 p.m. Most of us are residing on the West Coast, right? We are literally with this production from Southern California to the northern tip of the United States in terms of the Northwest region. We we all occupy these areas and territories. So, West, y'all, for those that don't know. But I just want to get right into it. June, how did you feel on Saturday? What was Saturday like for you? Take us through your Saturday and what Saturday looked like. Because Saturday was a very interesting day. I'm not going to talk about Wednesday because Wednesday led to
Ah,
Thursday, Thursday led to Friday, and then Friday led to Saturday. So I just want to know, where were you on Saturday?
I was holding in the suspense that was building from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, waking up to the world news being on every channel because we came to a consensus to select our next presidential elect. It was like the whole world was waking up on a Saturday. It's like we can have the news, wait, world events, current events can happen right now, but it's the weekend. Heading on to the soon to be former um, president, because he said, "Oh, we'll recount these ballots, but we'll start on Monday." And it's so funny because as the world turns, So I'm gonna be honest. I hit up everybody in lyrical opposition and in LO, and I said, "Okay, let's do a special." Election coverage, okay? Who's down? Because I'm so adamant about what's taking place in the media, and the people in the media didn't even know. I thought there was like no cap. I thought there was going to be like a revolution, a televised revolution, because people in the media didn't even know how to act. They're like, wait, we everything is going to be smooth sailing for the next 6 to 16 years. Like, wait a minute, what does that even mean? Or so I saw media anchors like trying to play the devil's advocate with like, but it was so evident that these newscasters, their main directive was to maintain the positivity of the new president-elect results. And so I saw a little bit on a particular news channel when someone was interviewed, like she had purple and green hair. I was like, oh my gosh, she's my hero. And she was like, look, it doesn't even matter about the party. All that matters is that we're together. And shout outs to that girl, because I think that's what's going to get us through, like I said, the next some odd years. And I mean, we potentially have the world is hanging by a thread. It's at our cusp. It's on the brink of a new horizon. So I'm just happy to be part of it, Sin. That's just me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Um, shout out to the people watching, those that will be listening. The day one supporters, because I know one day y'all gonna be like, y'all changed, y'all now rock stars, y'all act so different. So y'all getting this glimpse, right? June just let us in on what happened, and I just want to say that, like, that right. You talking about being on the thread. You talking about being at this moment of like, now the realization starting to set in. This is where we are and how things are going to pop, right? And it's just one of those things where you did hit us up, and I was like one of the people who was like, yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was kind of stuck because I was like, as much as I want to capture this moment, something tells me this moment gonna be for a minute. It's gonna last for a second or two, right? So with that, Affluent, what was Saturday like for you? Take us through your emotions, or take us through your perspective, right? You ain't gotta say too much other than
These
what was your perspective.
moments flashing in front of me, just like hopped in the cabin. I paid my fare. See, I know my destination, but I'm just not there in the streets.
In the
Yeah, I wasn't
streets.
outside in those streets. I wasn't outside. It was great to me. Like I wasn't even watching the news on Saturday. Um, interesting thing. What it's going to come down to, I think what I learned in this year, what I learned in this pandemic, what I learned in the last week is that it matters so much is not just who's in your corner, but also who's supporting you. It's like who your community is, what do they look like, what are their opinions, are they willing to accept you for your opinions and your perspective and your scope, and listen and understand what that means, and how your history has shaped those opinions. Because whatever happens on December 14th, um, with the Electoral College, when they make their votes, you still got to know who your community is. Whether things get better, you got to know who your community is. Whether things get worse, you got to know who your community is. And like for me, I kind of just focused in on uh, who those people are, folks in lyrical ops. It's like who are the people that's going to be there through thick and thin, um, the ins and outs of the world turning, and you know who's got their bags packed just in case.
Ain't that the
You
truth?
know who's prepared to move, um, mentally, physically, emotionally, um, ready to be at the same speed as you, to make impact, to make change. Um, like I still like where we're heading. Um, like America's been crazy since its inception. Um, it never really redefines its madness. It kind of just transmorphs it. Um, and yeah, just yes, it very interesting. This past weekend, I had me thinking about the film "Birth of a Nation."
Wait,
um,
which one? There's two of them. You talking about the most
the
recent one?
the first the first one,
The original?
yeah, yeah, the propaganda one. Because it's not based on no facts. It's just the fact that it was made is true, but um, it's a lot of propaganda in there, and it just reminds me of just like what media is to America, what media has been to for a long time to America, and the uh, the scripts that politicians follow um, throughout their life to get ahead, um, and the roles they play in different arenas as they try to rewrite their records and their base and their platform, and like whether they're blue or red or green or independent, it's very interesting because the lifelong politicians, they do their best to look good on all sides, until they choose a side, and then they say, okay, this is what my base is going to be, and I'm going to play to this base for as long as I can. And the public, or the media, I guess it's really the public, they have their short attention, or uh, short-term memory, as far as what I did 5 years ago, what I did 10 years ago. Um, and if the media, if anybody wants to bring it up, it's debatable on what really happened. When people start talking about history, it's a fleeting moment to the public, and no one holds politicians' decisions accountable, past a certain amount of time. It's almost like there's a statute of limitations on uh, how people voted in in the in their past. And right now, the folks headed to the White House um, are two Democrats who are conservative. At their base, um, with no progressive platform, really. Um, and it's just like the vice president. It's very cool that she's Black and Asian. Um, it's very cool that she's from the Bay. It's very cool that it sets a precedent for future generations. But at the same time, it sets a precedent that they put another conservative in the White House. Um, they put two conservatives on the same ticket, and it's really lopsided how they, where their platform and their base is, and we gonna see what happens. I mean, they haven't shown anything in their history, in their record, that they're gonna move in any way progressively. I mean, like whatever the shell game that's happening right now, leading up to the electoral college vote in December, none of that matters on a local level so much. People still need to know who their elected officials are in their cities, in their counties, in their districts, um, in their state, at the state level. You need to know who's making the decisions on your taxes and where your taxes go. You need to know what their policies are, what their platform is, what do they believe in, who do they care about. Because at the end of the day, no matter who's in the White House, you could live on the West Coast, you could live in California, where it's a quote unquote blue state, but the 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 the, the mask that they wear is a facade of progressiveness, and it just sounds progressive, but it's very conservative. Um, we see that in the propositions that pass in California. You see that in a lot of the moves that are made. You see that um, in their former attorney general. Um, so for me, the clarity is always paramount. There's no substitute for it, and I try to start there with understanding, and focus on the what is, what has been, and a lot of times what we may think is changing. Uh, there's no grounds to believe it until it happens. Um, as much as we can talk about the issues and we call that change, um, the issues have not been different in the last 100 years. Um, They haven't been different in the last 60 years. They haven't been different in the last 20 years. And so, if we're still talking about the issues that we were talking about 100 years ago, um, and maybe some people are now starting to believe it, we could say they matured, or it's kind of just been force fed to them. But either way, it's hard to call it change until we're making more change, more headway. Um, there's always been somebody in the big house that that's just fair skinned enough to uh, be around the slave owners. So yeah, I'm in a good mood.
Ooh, that's heavy. That's heavy. That's an interesting illustration you're drawing up there. I mean, it looks like there could be patterns. It looks like it could be patterns broken. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it on that. And who could rep the Bay harder than Kamal? I'm just happy. Look, I'm just happy that there's African American and South Asian because, like, I think equal representation is just as heavy, I mean, important. But I just want to chime in there real quick. I'm so thirsty to hear what you guys have to say on the topic. As I was speed texting, like, we got to do this now. We're doing it.
Yeah, we need that from you, June, always.
So just to it's so trippy because I knew once I heard June talk, I was like, oh yeah, the dynamics is gonna be we gonna cover the spread, the spectrum, because it is a thing, right? Where on one end, I'm looking from Wednesday to Saturday, refreshing the results on my phone, looking like, yep, mail in ballots, yep, mail in ballots, yep, mail in ballots. And I'm looking up, the electoral college, right? To get familiar, to understand the process, to really like try to hone in on what does this mean. And the only thing that I took away is that the electoral representatives do not have to be, they don't have to vote to represent the districts of which they're supposed to be represented. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, how does this work? And then I was like, and then there's particular states that have different rules. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I really am trying to wrap my head around what is the importance of this system, right? Like, what is like, and then I'm like still looking like because I know the electoral vote is the ones that matter. So I'm looking at the popular vote, and I'm like, man, as much as my vote may matter based off of where I live, to some degree, it really don't, right? Then I'm like, okay, I have to keep refreshing to see this 200 number change, or this what was 100 to then 200, right? And then I got to wait for these mail-in ballots because then that might influence the electoral votes. And I'm like, I'm confused. I don't understand this. This how is this democracy representative of a republic that is supposed to represent the people, right? Because that's the key, is that it's the people you're supposed to be representing, right? And I'm seeing the numbers, and I'm like, again, I had my perspective where I'm like, I'm the only thing I'll get from myself is what I want directly for me. And it really won't have any impact on anyone outside of my nuclear family, right? So what am I saying by that? If I want something for me, then that's different than me wanting something for us as a whole, as a community, as a city, state, county, as a globe. Because what I want for myself is someone who's going to be representative of real, authentic, total change. And what I got was, well, let's go back to racism prior instead of racism now, right? Like that's where that's like that was the most coldest joke in the whole. Like my friend hit me and was like, "Man, now we can finally go back to old racism." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Ah, oh, you right. Dang, my head explode." Like, and I knew it. It was in my soul, it was in my heart. I knew it. That's why I felt this anxiety to refresh over and over again because I'm trying to get back, right? It's like sensing my colleagues who I work with, their anxiety, and sensing like their sense of like dread. I'm like, to me, might be disrespectful in saying it, but I gotta say it because this is how I was able to like comprehend it. This was their first real taste at adversity. This was their real first taste at feeling challenged and feeling like they didn't matter, right? Because you have somebody who's representative of all of the elements and components of this country, right? They're not the problem. They're just representing what we as some see as the problem. Because again, when we look at these votes and we look at who voted for who, right? For me, if I'm voting in any regard against Don Teasy, Don Trumplestein, Don Trump with the Trump, right? If I'm voting against him, I'm voting against his, what does he stand on? What is his platform? And then what do I believe he is, right? And so I see things that are problematic to my personal self, right? But there's other people who share some of the same sentiments. But the level of degree of stress I've seen on people's face, right? I'm talking about a lot of white people, not all white people, just a lot of white people, not all white people, not everybody, just and then it spread to some of my people, right? Like black people, brown people, yellow people, red people, right? And I'm seeing how there's this dread, and I'm like, you do realize this whole system that we've been living in is historically, fundamentally at its core, from the foundation, racist, filled with hatred, oppression, and power dynamics. And some reason, people are putting so much faith on these two individuals to change that. When we look at the history and the track record of what they represented, it can't be further from change, right? Because they were core tenets in sustaining the system that gave us Donald Trump, right? They benefited from it. That's why they are in the position that they're in, right? When I see an AOC and people have their complaints and they make their grievances about who she is, that's because to me, she's the first person, or the one of the first, right? A group of individuals who I see as, they call them the squad. And I'm like, man, that's squad up. Anybody remember back in the day when Lil Wayne was like with the squad up, and then everybody's like, Reese, T's, Jabos, and they had the peacoats and the cornrows and all that, and then they switched it to dreads, and I'm like, squad
Squad
up,
up.
right? The squad, right? Eon Omar, shout out to Eon Omar holding it down. But the squad, right? When I see them and how they carry themselves and how they address certain situations and scenarios, that's what changes to me, because they're coming at it with a different type of energy, a different perspective, and it's really thoughtful and progressive and representative of what I would want to see in the world when it comes to leadership, not management. Leadership. I don't need you to manage me. I need you to lead me, right? So when I'm saying leadership, I see them and I'm like, ugh. I already said it before in another podcast episode. I was like, you want to talk about equal and fair rights? Let's get a good 10,000 years of women-led government, and then we could revisit the concept of equality, because then we would have known the true difference between what we as men have done in the patriarchy and what women can do in a matriarchy. Because what happens if we find out they might have the roots, key, success, and talent skills to show us what equity and equality looks like? And I feel like only then can I make a fair assessment as to what we really need, right? Let it go. Let it go. It's all good. Bless you. It's all good. We here for it. For those that don't know, we give out blessings from time to time when, the sniffles get us. So back to what I was
Salute.
saying, right? Salute. So the thing is, when I'm sitting here seeing this process on Saturday take place. Again, I'm not a morning person. I don't like the morning. I'm a night person. I'm all with the night. So when I wake up and I'm getting this information, I'm like, wait, what? Wait. Oh, yeah, for real? Oh, okay. Well, then I got to think, man, what is Don Teasy gonna do? Sure enough, he let us all know what he gonna do. He gonna wild out. He wilding out right now. He getting his paces in. You know what I'm saying? Getting them steps in that house. And to me, that's the thing that I want people to really like. This, at least for me, it's not a celebration yet, because we can see there's a huge lead in the race, right? And we want to say the race is won, but the race isn't won yet, right? They haven't quite crossed the finish line. And It takes people who are active, assertive, and thoughtful to make sure we get across the finish line, right? We might not like who's getting across the finish line. We might see it as the lesser of two evils for some of us, right? Some of us might be extremely fond and proud and happy. And, yeah, there's parts of me where it's like, oh, man, well, you go back and forth. Well, at least they did get a woman as a vice president. And at least she black and brown. And then she from the Bay. And it's like, that's cool. That's great. But I'm also reminded of sometimes it be your own people who will sell you out. And the thing is as much as I'm happy, I'm also cautious, right? Because I can't I can't be I can't be negligent of the past. I can't be remiss from history. I have to keep it at the forefront because when you say certain things, you do certain things, I got to make sure, is it connected to those harmful things? Is it connected to those moments that are barriers for me? Because then I got to hold you accountable because more than ever, I'm going to be present. I'm saying that for myself. I'm hoping other people join me. I'm hoping we're unified in our stance because one thing we have to do is not let up, right? If they going to try and push us down, we got to keep pushing back up. And I feel like the force and the energy has to remain consistent because it's like, yeah, okay, we got the most egregious representative of what the government can do, right? Don Teasy, you done took it to the limit in terms of our tolerance and our capacity to deal with what the government can do on a federal level, right? On a global level. You have shown us so much and I am so thankful for you showing me so much. I appreciate you for giving me like maybe not the most truest representation of what this country is, but you have shown so much that I was like, oh, it's only in the history books. Oh, that was a long time ago. Oh, it shows up in these little moments in these pockets, especially me being from such a liberal and progressive place like San Francisco, California. I was like, man, to go in a neighborhood and where you would usually see people walking up and down the street and kids playing, there's no one there because they're afraid they'll be picked up by ICE. This was new to me. I've never seen this in my lifetime, right? I've had 3 decades on this planet, 3 decades within the Bay, and I've been able to see through time, right? I've had a Bush Senior, I had a Bill Clinton, I had a Bush Jr., I had a Obama, and then I had Don Teasy, Don Trumpets, Don Trump, Trumpety Trump, Trump do his thing. And he showed me, oh, no, no, no. All that stuff that was in the history books, all that stuff my mom told me about, all those things my uncles and my grandmother told me about, oh, they're very much real. They very much exist. They are not hidden. And the thing is I have to be appreciative because I plan on bringing children into this world and I want to give them the honest truth of what this world is and what this country is because I love this country. I love what it represents. I love what it's afforded me and what it has given me. And that's why all of us become so passionate when it comes to our perspectives on being a Democrat or being Republican, being conservative, being progressive. I can see both sides. I've had conversations where it's hard to reconcile this truth within myself, but I have to live with it every day. That I've lived, grown, and have existed in a racist society amongst people who don't even acknowledge or even see themselves as being racist or benefiting from these racist structures. And yet I want to get upset and mad because Donald Trump has been the closest representation in a presidential level on in my lifetime as to someone who could really be harmful using racism as a tool, as a power, as an energy source, right? But in reality, I've been surrounded by it the whole time. Maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe not everybody's had that experience, and I understand that. But for me, and for the people that are close to me, and the people I grew up with, we all have had our fair share of this racist system and how it's been a part of our whole life, whether it's our friends, whether it's our family, whether it's our schools, whether it's the doctors, whether it's being at the grocery store. There's always been these elements of how they intertwine and they create this fabric of society that we all are wrapped in. And Donald Trump was the first person to just be the face on such a gigantic, enormous level. Because again, we have to think about what happened in Charleston. We have to think about these different moments where he wouldn't denounce these acts and these movements and these groups. You know, he wouldn't say the things that you would hope a person would say to give you comfort and to lead you in the moments of distress and harm, right? But then I got to think about those teachers. I got to think about those principals. I got to think about those police officers, right? Because their variety, shade, and color may be all different, but there's a certain thread of power and oppression and a dynamic to pull on who I am to challenge me, not because of who I am, but because of what they see. And that's the thing that I really want people to take away from this event, right? As much as we may go to the circus and enjoy the clowns, as much as we may stay away from the circus because clowns make us scared, what we can't take away is the fact that the circus exists and we're a part of it. Whether you're standing on the outside or whether you're in the tent, we're all a part of it. This is the one circus where you don't have to pay an admission to be a part of it. The fact that you can even acknowledge that it exists lets you know you're still a part of it. And so for
Right.
me, as much as we lose or we gain, you know, it's true. We have to stay together. We have to come together. We have to reconcile these pieces, these fragments of the Shikon jewel, because yes, in the spirit world, we need to be healed. We need to be whole. And we need to have that
Well,
representative and present wherever we go, right?
well done.
In Yasha sit boy. But at the same time, right, as we're present with the demons, as we're present with the monsters, some of them aren't as bad if you make forth the effort to understand why they ended up in those positions, in those places, right? So to me, yeah, I was losing my sense of, I don't know, relationship to this world on Saturday because I'm like, y'all all in the street, wilding out, turning up, and I get it, you know, y'all. For some of y'all, this has been like, but like for me, I still gotta go and deal with life, and my life. A lot of what I'm dealing with is directly a reflection of all the outcomes, movements, laws, and legalities and practices of the government, and I haven't escaped it yet. So what I want for myself is, yes, I want to be, I'm working towards, you know, entrepreneurship, building a business, building something of equity and value to myself. I want everybody to have that same level of freedom, right? I see it as financial freedom grants me access to resources and opportunities. So that's what I want. But I want everyone to have what that is for themselves. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I get it for myself. So at a time like this, when we are currently still in the pandemic, right? We still like people, I've heard jokes like Dave Chappelle made a joke about like, man, like just imagine all the mass shootings we've avoided because of the pandemic, right? And I was like, haha, that's real. Yeah, just true. But then I'm like, wait a minute. So once we get a vaccine, we right back to normal? Is that back to normal for us? Right? And it's like, then we got to think about, hold on, we took away mass shootings and upped the ante on black people being killed by law enforcement, right? Like maybe the numbers haven't jumped, but in terms of my ability to take it in and to see it, like I just found out about, what's his name? Is his name Jawan Charles? Anybody heard about Jawan Charles and what happened to
18 year
him
old in Louisiana.
in Louisiana, right? He goes with a
Yeah.
friend in a car and then he don't make it home. They find his body in a field, right? So everybody's looking, and unfortunately there are pictures that are very explicit, so it is a trigger warning to search him on Google because you will see very traumatic imagery of this young boy who is gone. And the thing that people were starting to say was, well, his pictures look a lot like Emmett Till's. So here we are all these years later. And this is kind of this is the information that finds me, right? Because again, community does matter. Community is of highest importance, right? It's your support system, it's your family, it's your friends, it's the people around you, right? If you are in isolation, if you feel alone, guess what? Lyrical opposition is a community within itself, and we're here for you, right? Lyrical ones. This is what we do. We're here to represent. But at the same time, there's people that you can reach out to. There's people that you may know, or sometimes you just got to take that chance, that leap of faith to get connected. Because in my world, when I'm looking at my people and what they're seeing, they're saying this is such another horrible event, another tragedy, another black child, another black life gone. And you have to call in the question, why? Was it the societal systemic reasons, right? Like diabetes, cancer, heart disease? Or was it someone in society who was like, this is how I feel about you, and this is what I want to do to you, right? And now you gone, because that's the narrative that's going on with this situation, right? That's what's called into question is this level of atrocity, this tragedy, right? And so I'm just looking at it for everyone who, yeah, we are voting, we are present, we are powerful, but we have to maintain pressure. We have to maintain our presence. We have to be persistent through every challenge, every barrier. And so for me, Saturday was a lot of things, but it was just another day in the grand scheme of my life. And I just want people to understand that, yes, it's okay to celebrate, it's okay to feel good. But don't lose sight of the fact that there's gonna be people out here, regardless of whoever you put in power, we still gonna have to do this work. We still gonna be dealing with all the drama. There's still gonna be madness that's gonna come from it. Because yes, I love the imagery of a black woman, a black and brown woman, a woman who is Southeast Asian. And then we have, I mean, Joe Beasy, you know, Joe Beasy. But at the end of the day, I see this woman and I can't help but feel this sense of kinship because I think of my family, I think of my community, and them being from the Bay does play a factor into it too, right? And so, when June had said, who else could better represent the Bay? The first person came to mind was Marshawn Lynch. But again, they didn't run for office. They weren't the one that we could put in a position to be in the house. And, it's like, just take care of your chicken. But at the end of the day, right, just don't lose sight of the presence, the pressure, and the persistence. So, that's just my perspective on Saturday's events. But what I'm also like eager to understand, what I am eager to know is, did people peep some of the state things, the state measures that passed? Like, does people peep, like, what was it, 22, Prop 22? Did anybody peep what like came of that, what people learned about that? Because one of the things that I heard was the amount of money spent in advertising and promotion of yes on Prop 22 by Uber, Lyft, and all the other kind of tech companies was like $200 million. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, these PPE loans people really be needing to save their businesses, to save themselves at a time when people are losing and like struggling to maintain housing and to have food security, right? To have any form of financial security. You have these gigantic corporations spending so much money to tell people this is what we need from you. We're going to put somebody of color who maybe has a family in their back seat of their car, and they're driving around saying they work for some app-based company that doesn't exist, and they're telling you why it's important to vote a certain type of way. Whether or not they're actually an actor doesn't matter. Whether or not the production values through the roof does not matter. As long as you believe and you do as we say, this $200 million is worth it. And I just can't help but be like, wait, what? I mean, one, just full disclosure, I did participate in the gig economy, and I realized quickly it wasn't for me. I just couldn't handle the like the concept of like, okay, you sign on to an app and now we tell you where to go. And you have to do it within a time limit. And then after that, you have to go to a certain place and you have to deliver it to some people. And then how you're treated, how you're paid, and then the experience of like navigating all the challenges, whether directly or indirectly involved. Hell no. So the thing is, for me, I remember they hit me up and it was like, "Hey, we noticed that you left the area that you were in. What happened?" Oh, I just kept driving. I had a problem with my car, and it was like, "Wait, well, you just can't leave when you." And I was like, "Yes, I can. I can do whatever I want." Well, if you do, we might have to. You do whatever you got to do, cause no, this ain't me. This ain't for me. You want your car back? I'll give you your car back, cause I ain't Instacart. No, I ain't doing it. You ain't telling me what grocery store to go to, and then tell me to go to downtown San Francisco, and I have to double park in between buildings, where my car could potentially get towed just to take 5 gallons of milk upstairs to a dude who's like tall, lanky, white, and like, yeah, what's up, Charles? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, and then all of a sudden he gets to me and he's like, what's up, bro? And I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, be safe. And I'm like, how dare you in this ivory tower of yours while I deliver you this half and half 5 gallons, tell me, hey, bro, be safe. Are you out your everlasting God stopping mind? Like if I was a different me, with or without the mask, this be a whole nother conversation and exchange. But I'm on the clock, and Instacart is running the bill. And if I don't get this within a certain time limit, I don't get a certain grade, right? Like, oh well, he was a great blah blah blah, right? And I'm like, he gonna give me 1 star. He gonna give me 1 point, and now I suck. And then I ain't dealing with this no more. You could but get me one time with a bag of ice inside of a building while I put my car outside in front of a construction site to get all these bags of ice upstairs and tell me, well, thank you for your effort. If you don't get up out my face while I got all this water dripping on myself from this ice I've been hugging up this freaking elevator, all right. Yeah, this ain't for me. I gotta. It's other ways. I mean, I could, I think I could be a sex worker. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me legalities, give me provisions. It's my control. Ain't no Uber here. Ain't no Lyft. Ain't no let's get on the app and we gonna get some from him. Nah, ain't gonna happen. Me by myself, businessman. But again, right? I step back and I think, yes, on 22. What were people's interpretations of kind of how that took place? June, if anything. I mean, it could be a different prop, but that's just one that came to mind.
Fantastic reasoning, Sin. It was quite the animated soliloquy, if I may say. Great. Oh, thank you. Hey, real quick, Prop 22, I saw a lot of ads to vote a certain direction, to vote a certain way in the city. And everywhere I looked where it said, what the gig worker, like what the gig industry was putting out to vote was actually not in the interest of many drivers. So wherever you saw that prop, any prop, 22 advertisement, it normally had it crossed out and said vote the other way. So that was interesting. But hey, real quick, I mean, a lot of people are just to go back about like race wars in the White House. I mean, not that I don't know why people have such a like bad taste in their mouth about Black people being in the White House and Black people built the White House. But I mean, and it's like, you may not get the old white guy that you want, but you still get an old white guy. And I heard that, well, maybe this administration will be the last administration. Maybe Kamala and Joey B, might get rid of the Electoral College. Maybe they get rid of having a president altogether. I mean, going back to Chile, rewriting their constitution, I think anything is possible. So it doesn't, that's what I'm saying, like we're on this next term of 4 years, it really can extend to which can be like, 8 years. And then if the Democrats keep power in the House and we'll see about the Senate. Well, maybe it'll continue for the next 8 years. So it's 16. We're on a precipice of something great happening. I'm pretty excited about it. But as the excitement continues, I'm gonna continue playing FDT by YG and Nip. So you could just find me on any given corner in LA, just bumping that my windows down. And yes, there are people on those corners, and no, they're not right, and no, it's not a peaceful protest, nor it is, and it's the furthest thing from a riot, but it's more of a celebration. So I feel as if we've embarked on a new renaissance, a new age of enlightenment, a new age of realism, and I see that in art. That as stark as you can make your reality, as jarring as you can take it, I feel as if that's the new era that we're in. And I think it's carrying over into politics because, I mean, I saw a meme that when you order Coke and somebody says, "Is Pepsi okay?" It's kind of like when you want Bernie, you want to feel the burn in AOC, but you get Joey B and Kamala. I think, I'm okay with that. I think let's here's a toast. How about that? So let's see. Yeah, but I love this country and I have a deep love for this country, and I knew that the presidential race wasn't gonna get down to charisma. It was gonna get down like how you can sway a crowd. It was gonna get to character. And I think that is a better gauge for our presidents is the morale, the character. I think that's how the office should be held for the time being. I think we should get rid of filibustering, right? I think when congressmen are on the floor, they shouldn't be able to talk about anything they want just to eat up the time so a bill expires. Oh yeah, you go knows. You know what I'm saying? I may not have majored in poli sci, but okay. I think we also need to get rid of gerrymandering, which is when you redraw your district lines. So the district lines could have nothing to do, but with everything about the income of your constituents, and that's how, on the local level, these electoral votes get swayed, even at that local level. So let's be aware of and intentional who we vote in on the local level. And I just want to call out to every young person, every AOC out there to rise up. Okay. So, I mean, I feel a little bit, my spine tingles, then straightens and said, maybe the time is now. Because there is a place for everyone, whoever has an interest, even the slightest interest in politics or making a change. There's a place for you. And there's a place for you out in the world, and it's only you can fill it. So I just want to encourage everyone to keep moving forward. Yeah. So how is everyone? So what do you guys expect? Like, what do you guys want to see? I mean, let's Dreamcast a little bit.
First off, I super appreciate your choice of words when saying Dreamcast. So I just had to note that. Alfluent, take it away.
Also appreciated the Dreamcast um, phrase is solid. I know. So like for me, I would have like just in California, like I would have liked for like Prop 18 to pass for like 17-year-olds to be able to vote. Um, as right as our youth become more informed and more active and their voices grow, um, it would have been great to have them able to, you know, carry their own weight in a sense. Um, even if folks 2 and 3 generations older than them are not doing it so well. I think our time of following and being led by the youth is coming. Um, they've always been a great compass. The youth has always been a great compass for this country, and hope at some point we can see that at least in California where that's the case. Would have liked to see some things about Prop 13 from 1978 changed with, Prop 15 for, the ban on affirmative action to be lifted. But, you know, affirmative action, doesn't do great things for everybody, and it, doesn't do bad things for everybody either. Um, there's a lot of, different sectors where affirmative action is a great thing, especially in tech, where there's a lack of diversity. Um, and at the same time, uh, you know, people lose out on positions because of affirmative action too. So like it's you know it's valid either way. People made their choice in California, but um, I think when you talk about like Prop 22 and the money that was spent, um, and you know voters being swayed one way or the other, uh, it's really just like those uh, driver-based companies really just saying like either you allow us right to keep them as contractors, keep drivers as contractors, or we gonna take our business somewhere else outside of California. And you know the votes went toward yes, and the money paid off. So those big companies will stay here in California, and some of those drivers will enjoy the freedom of being contractors and making their own schedule, and other drivers will lose out on the stability of being an employee, um, of a company with benefits. And so some people need to have the freedom because of situations at home, and taking care of different family members, or they just prefer it, to have that mobility of schedule, because they have other passions or different things going on. They may be in school. And at the same time, some people will really enjoy the benefits of being an employee. When it's hard to get back to school, get an education, to get an entry level position, and get hired on when headcount is frozen, and get a job of benefits, and in companies where people don't want to hire because there's a ban on affirmative action. um so it's really wild how things are turning out. But um I think this is very much a window of opportunity, emphasis on unity, um where we can hold the people that we elect accountable, um, for what they, say they represent, uh, what they said they would do as far as listening to, public opinions. Like when you win a popular vote, and the popular, consensus is that, we think you can lead the country, you know, toward the better. Um, hope that they try to stay, in the popular votes good graces, the population's good graces, and do things that are good for the population as a whole, and not just for the few who are well off, or the few who are looking down on the majority, as far as socioeconomic classes go. Um, and yeah, I mean, gerrymandering's always, I agree, June, gerrymandering has always been, something dangerous, um, across the country, when it comes to, you know, entrepreneurs, when it comes to creatives, when it comes to schooling, when it comes to food deserts, when it comes to playgrounds, when it comes to safety, when it comes to street lights, um, and when it comes to density within neighborhoods, um, where businesses end up and where businesses don't end up, where grocery markets are and where grocery markets are not. Um, you know, like in the neighborhood I grew up in, Hunters Point, San Francisco, I know where all the police stations are. I know where all the fire departments are, firehouses are, um, and I know I know where all the grocery stores are, and there's um, two grocery stores compared to five and six uh, police stations, firehouses, give or take each. Um, and so it's like, well, if there's a a large population, in a zip code in a District 10, if there's a large population, a very dense population, to justify these firehouses and these police departments, these police stations, but then there's not enough grocery stores to feed these people. Um, like, what are we saying about their health? Um, like, what's important? Are we over policing these folks? Um, are there really that many fires? Are there really that many emergencies? Are there really like, um, I mean, really, fire people, firemen and women do a lot of the EMT work um, for communities, and a lot of their calls sometimes are around domestic violence and um, civil situations, that don't call for police, um, and a lot of times the EMTs show up before police do and handle emergencies and settle disputes even, um, just by being folks of a authority, and of compassion and of concern for their neighborhoods. And I would love to see those those neighborhoods also served in other ways as far as their wellness goes. And like, I don't know, I'm really excited for the precedent and the sparks. Like, I always remember Tupac saying that he wanted to be the voice that sparked the next generation. um you know even if my decade is not the decade that makes the change, I hope we can make enough noise that echoes generations. um that they say that, oh, we remember when the first woman vice president um came through and wrecked shop, in terms of what's the norm um in politics, what's the norm, you know amongst this, you know just boys club of politicians. And it's very interesting, not just the next 4 years, the next 20 years. um we'll see what happens. I'm really watching the news cycles right now and how they're just like, uh, even though they're just like manipulating the market. um and
I saw a news channel
yeah, yeah.
that had a live stream and that just said, "You decide. You tell us what you see here."
Huh. Yeah,
That was
right.
it. That was okay, great. So you're leading us. You want us to make fake scenarios.
No, no, right. It's right. No, it's just like, life imitating art, art imitating life. Um, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, where do they have their ears? Say, can we take this whisper and make it a loud bang? Um, whether it's true or not, you know, whether it's a fact or not. Can we be first? Can we be loud? And see if we can get our numbers up, our ratings up for a time, and we can always come back and get more ratings for changing our position. um, so even if we come out loud and fast and not tell the truth, you know the backlash will also serve us in our ratings and our advertising as well. So sometimes it pays for the media outlet to be wrong. um, so yeah, it's just a wild thing. But I think it's when we focus on the unity and this opportunity to make change, um, we'll see how important it is to to look after one another and understand that. I was listening to a podcast with Alexis Pauline, and she was talking with Prentice Hemphill on a podcast. Shout out to the Finding Our Way podcast, into their first season. Um, but they were just talking about how, like, the individual is created, you know, for capitalism. It's like, capitalism don't work in community. So if everybody's a unit of one, right, then everybody has their own, and capitalism, works really well when you can, uh, pull people away from their people. Which is what slavery was. It's like, if we can make these people individuals with their own pockets, instead of being a member with a role in a unit of 20, in a unit of 30. If everybody has their own weight to pull, instead of the shared goal, then we can say, well, if you take from them, it's not really hurting me. If you take from her, it's not really hurting me. If you take from him, it's not really hurting me. And that's where the patriarchy, kind of coincides. Like, oh well, this person need help over here. Let me just tighten these headphones, turn these up a little bit. Or that person that's in danger, or being harmed over there, or in an argument over there. Let me just make sure these sunglasses are a little bit dark enough so nobody knows that I'm not looking, or that I am looking. So it's one of those crazy times where we are more aware than we ever been that change is needed. And I say we, it's not just the people who are being harmed, but the people who can now see the harm, and recognize and acknowledge that the harm is happening, and it's going to take work, that it's hard for them to stop the harm that's being done, that they want to see changed. And it's not easy to be an ally. It's not easy to be a victim. It's not easy to be a champion. But if you accept the role that you want to fight, then we do better. We go faster. We go further. Together. And so it's a really exciting time for me. Like, I'm excited to see generations down what happens. I got folks. I call them folks, and they only a month old, and 2 years old, and I got cousins and things. I got folks now who's born in this year, and I got three on my radar, 4 on my radar, just in within my smaller circle, and then a few more in my larger circle and network. So I'm like excited that their world can be different, that it can be brighter, that they can be more loving, that they can grow up amongst other children who maybe didn't learn hate from their parents, maybe didn't learn hate from their grandparents or great grandparents, maybe didn't learn bigotry and racism, and learn that the contributions to this country that matter come in a lot of different shades, and levels of melanin, pigmentation. So yeah, it's a good time. Sineo, what you looking forward to? Yeah, what you excited about?
Community. At the end of the day, right? It's one of those things where I just want to highlight some things that God brought up. Right, first,
Highlights.
June's use of Dreamcast in a sentence, and it being so dope.
Finish
I'm
it.
not.
Go ahead, finish it.
I'm
Finish it. Go
just.
ahead, finish it. Tell them why it's hot.
So September
Tell them
9th,
why it's hot.
1999, for those that are Virgos, is a special day. For those that are video gamers, even more important of a day. September 9th, yes, I'm totally deviating. We're going straight into tangent territory. September 9th,
We are
1999.
swirling.
We are
Go.
swirling because I am thinking. So the thing is, right? On September 9th, 1999, it was a Thursday. I was in the 7th grade. And it was the last home console released by a Japanese company by the name of Sega. And they were also at the time located within San Francisco. And so
99 to
for
2000.
me, right, forever. So the thing is, in September 9th, 1999, the Dreamcast was released, and I had made sure I was ready and prepared for this day. I made sure that every little dollar I could ever find, every little cent I could save, I knew back in 1998, even prior when it was called the Katana, when it was called the Duro, there was so many code names. And I was like, I'm going to save however much money it is. And then I found out it was going to be $200. So I was like, cool. Every way that I can get a dollar, I'm gonna get a dollar. And I negotiated. I said, look, I don't want anything else in this whole wide world. This was 1998, a full year before. I said, don't give me anything. I just want a Dreamcast. That's all I want. However, I gotta whatever I gotta work, do, I'll do. Right. My father was a plumber and ish don't bother me. So I was helping him out. Okay. I was doing everything I could to get this money. Right. I'm like 12 years old. I'm like, hustle time, baby. It's time to get this paper. So the thing is, it ended up actually creating a relationship, a friendship that I still hold true due to a conversation about Dreamcast on the yard at Visitation Valley Middle School. So one of my closest, most sincerest friends, it was born out of him talking about the Dreamcast to someone else. And I was like, what do you know about the Dreamcast? And so we get into a back and forth and we realize, are we best friends? And then it's been popping ever since. And the Dreamcast is the core of our relationship, but it's also my cousin's birthday. It's also one of my fondest memories. And it is a date that I try to have show up in every capacity of my life. 9999. There's nothing more poetic to me than someone using dreams cast in a sentence and me being like Sega Bass Fishing because she reeled it in. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. But also shout out to June because Affluent, while you were away, someone had to ad lib for the Lyrical One song and she killed it. Like she was on point
Yes,
because
I
when you said
saw it. I
one,
saw it.
I was like, one. I was like, June came in for the clutch and delivered. Not only did she sing on the track, she then picked up and did the background vocals Alfluent usually does with the ad libs and stole the show. So I just
Cause
want to
I
highlight
saw it.
that.
I saw it.
It
She
was
got it.
special, right?
It was very. Shout out to Chuck D.
It's for real.
Shout
So
out
the
to Chuck
thing
D.
is, for me, in hearing all of those different things, before I get to what I feel, it is necessary we do a little bit of housekeeping. So I just want to get into this and redeem myself because last week I didn't say evangelism at all. I just froze and just fumbled the word. I was like evangelism. So here we go. Announcement times for everyone. Make sure to join our Lyrical Assembly Reads for Resistance book that happens every Saturday at 9 a.m. It is, Reads for Resistance. You read a book, right? This week, we're
Saturday.
reading chapter 1 of the book, Decolonizing Evangelism. If you are interested in joining, email Lacey at lyricalopposition.org to join. And then, if you want to get connected to our online community, join us on our Discord community server. You can text Lyrical Opposition at 415 903 7699. Then, our Lyrical Assembly broadcast is every week on Sunday at 10 a.m. Okay, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's for the West Coast, right? You do the adjustment as you need. You got world clocks. If you don't, then hopefully you can get access to one. I hope you can make it. Make sure you tune in, right? And if you're interested about faith, arts, and activism, the Lyrical Assembly broadcast is for you. Again, right? We have the Lyrical Assembly Reads for Resistance that happens Saturday at 9 a.m. Okay, they're working on the book. They're reading Decolonizing Evangelism, right? If you're interested, again, that's LACY at lyricalopposition.org, right? And if you want to get connected, remember I said, if you're in isolation and you're trying to get connected to us, we have a Discord that you can connect with us, right? 415-903-7699. I repeat, 415-903-7699. And again, the Lyrical Assembly broadcast every Sunday, 10 a.m. You can tune in, and it's all about faith, arts, and activism. So now the thing is, We are having in the moment moments happen. And June, I want to respect your time because I know it is of all the utmost importance. Do you have any thoughts based off of what Alfluent was saying prior to all my announcements and tangents in regards to where we are in this lovely world right now?
We're in an exciting age. I feel as if now is the time. It's like an age of authenticity. I think right now, with like a lot of people being home, I just want to give them props for like staying safe, and my heart goes out there for those who have whose health, mental, physical, emotional health has been compromised throughout this time. But I only said that to say, hey, this time has given us a, a time to really assess what we all want in life and really imagine the life that we all want. So I hope that everyone is hoping the like going for the things that they want in life. Like I hope everyone is being robust in like making their goals and achieving them. I think now is the time, even if you're like, I feel as if like if you're a student, now's the time to crack open the books and read. Like you're like, I'm a DJ. Well, do your research. Listen to everything you've ever wanted to so that you'll have the best arsenal going forward, you know? So I think that this time is really making who's who. This is the fire that's purifying everyone. And when it's all over, that we're and when it's all over, though, I mean, we'll see who's who. But just peace and strength to you and the world. And I love y'all. Okay, that's it. Deuces, everyone.
Peace, June. Love you, June.
Love you.
As we proceed, as we transverse into the next portion or chapter of the Lyrical Ones podcast, episode 24, from what I believe, or 25. I've lost track. Who knows? We're doing this for so long. We just running the numbers up. You can see it in the podcast. Episode 24, 2-4. Shout out Kobe Bryant. I always say one better than 23. So when you do it 24/7 all the time, or 24/8, 25/8, you just go. So the thing is, to me, right, y'all have brought up some kind of epic moments, some especially around gerrymandering, and it echoes the kind of the same practices of redlining, right? And the thing is, we from what I can gather, socioeconomic class isn't a protected class, right? Like, think about it. It's not. It's not a protected class. They can discriminate against you if you po. And the one thing that unifies people more than anything in this lovely country is your socioeconomic status, right? And unfortunately, they've done such a good job of separating us and keeping us on two different sides of the aisle around issues that impact us all when it comes to money. They just find more ways. You see, like, come on. They just find more ways to divide us, more lines to like put us in boxes to then say we aren't people united, right? Because again, if we are, then we can't be defeated, right? We're not voting for leaders, right? We're voting for representatives, right? But what do we want? We want leaders right now, right? We've had mostly management, but because we haven't realized us coming together yet, it's a thing where, yeah, gerrymandering is a way for those powers that be to be able to get in and protect and secure what they find value in. And so, there's a lot to be said around the concepts of a filibuster, right? To be able to consume people's time to gain access, right?
Right.
So to me, it's just a different way of silencing people, of getting involved in a capacity of, let me take up space So there is no space to be had for you, for whatever your issue is, whatever is bothering you, whatever your ailment is. Imagine going to the doctor's office and you getting ready to be, diagnosed, and someone else comes in and they just start rambling on and on and on, and you never find out your diagnosis, right? That means you can't never start your treatment plan. You can't never get better. And that's kind of how we're
I'm gonna
we're
let you get
like
your medicine, but Beyonce had the best video of all time.
exactly. And the thing, that's even another crazy component. Like, just because you said it, shout out Kanye West because his name really was on the ballot. Like, I'm not gonna minimize it.
Ah,
His name was really on the ballot though. Like,
and he did it
people
before a
could
lot of people
front,
said they was.
people hate, people gonna say what they want to say about this man, but you cannot take away the fact that when I looked at my mail-in ballot, I seen his full name. Like, the power in
Precedent.
what I saw in that moment to just know that Kanye West's name, regardless if I vote for him or not, his name is on the ballot. The man said it. He said it, and he got it on there. Like, people will doubt you. People will say you can't. People will say whatever they want to stop you from living out your best life, to fully realizing and actualizing your dream. And this individual, through all measures of challenge and barrier, not only did he go from a guy that was like, he was kind of like our own personal like rap hero, right? In the moment when he started, right? It's like, oh man, he rapping different than everybody else, and he making banging beats, and he working with everybody. And then he goes into superstar status, and then he creates shoes, and he creates clothing, and he has everybody looking like they're high class hobos, because it's no shame in being poor, but there is something to be said when you find a way to take a look that is associated with having literally no financial footing, and then able to create $1 billion company. Like, imagine the screw, like the level of, like, I don't even want to say contradiction, but it is contradiction, because it's like, here I am, a hype beast, right? I have money, I have the ability to access this with these garments, right? And I'm wearing wholly bleached sweatshirts, and that's status now. Now, that says a lot about who Kanye is, to, like, whether it was intentional or not. I think it was hilarious. I think it was so profoundly hilarious. Let me give you these, the $38, $40, dad shoes, or if you're at
There's
Payless,
so
right?
much shade in that. There's so much. Kanye
It's
threw
not,
so much shade.
it's not shade. Like, this is a
Not
genius
not
at work.
yours. No, right? No, Kanye. But
You're
Kanye
right.
was
There you're right.
doing a
See,
lot. Kanye
he
was
was doing
doing
a
a
lot
lot.
because he was proving, to me, the way I look at it is, he was proving a point around status and then influence, right? I'm going to take the qualities that you as a nation, you as a people don't hold value in, and now I'm going to make you invest in it. I'm going to make you buy into the idea, right? So I'm going to give you dad shoes, which y'all have all avoided, and now I'm going to make it chic. I'm going to take holy clothes, bleached, wrongly like distressed clothing, and I'm going to make it chic. And you're going to invest in it. You're going to be hyped to want to wear it, right? Because me, Kanye, who's put in all this work to make you believe in what I am and who I am, I'm now going to get you to think that this is cool, right? Me, I didn't prescribe to, because I'm like, you know how hard it is for me to hold on to a black sweatshirt to stay black, and now you think you gonna sell me one that got holes in look. I don't care if I'm out of touch. I don't care if, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna be me. Okay, y'all go do that. That's cool. It look nice on you, not on me. Right? This black tee. I'm gonna hold on and figure out how to make this work. Okay, what we gonna do? We're gonna put some vinegar, some OxyClean. What I'm gonna do to hold on to this color? Because I'm gonna hold on to this color. Right? Now with Kanye, all of these different things have happened. You're not gonna be a rapper. You suck as an artist. He did it, right? You're not gonna get into clothing. You're not gonna be able to be into fashion. He did it. Then it's you're not gonna run for president. What'd he do? He didn't get he got vice
Ran
president,
for
but
vice president.
again, he was on the ballot. So I have to congratulate this man, because even if I don't agree with him, I can't help but have a level of appreciation and love for him because of what he represents. And that is a man who is fearless and believes in himself. And more importantly, believe in you, right? Because as much as you can degrade and tear down this human being, are you building yourself up? Are you believing in yourself? Are you loving yourself? Because if we all loved ourselves like Kanye loved himself, I think we might be in a better place. And I ain't saying do it the same way. I'm just saying to the level, right? To the capacity, right? Olive oil in a cup is olive oil in a cup. Water in a cup is water in a cup. But if they at the same level, it's the same capacity, right? Different substances, but at the same capacity. So love yourself.
Volume.
Just saying, you know what I'm saying? It's your form under stress. Can you maintain it, right? Your form, in terms of your body, it's your body. It's not me. But can we maintain the same form in our bodies? Again, think about it.
Signature
Reoccurring themes,
signature
reoccurring
movement.
threads. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, gotta work on my knees. So the thing is, right? People have to understand, like, to me, looking at this situation and this whole process and how it's playing out, and then being mindful of how it's always played out, because that's right. When we're talking about gerrymandering, we're talking about these systemic things, this practice that happens of how do they how do they create control, how do they create these dynamics, right? When I look at the state representatives and district representatives, and I see that the line of San Francisco's cut right when you get to a certain area, and they're counted with San Mateo. Wait, hold on, this is San Francisco on this map, but based off of a more legislative approach, or more drawn out approach or perspective, it's not fully represented the same, right? So that's gerrymandering at work. That's them saying we're going to draw the lines of where your district begins and ends. So your voice is now grouped in with their voice. Your problems look a lot different than everyone else's problems now, right? So you can get washed out. And to me, that's the thing that we have as people, like, we not trying to be preachy. We trying to create a space for healing and a way to support each other through the storm, right? A way to be consistent and persistent through everything, because it is challenges, it is barriers, there will be things in place to prevent us, but we have to learn how to overcome it. And I think it's best when we have conversations out loud about, yeah, when we talk about the stock market, like, man, I was tripping. I was looking at and I was like, wait, we running it up. But I'm like, again, who's really running it up, right? Who's really
Who's running
making
it
these
up?
moves, right? Because I'm like, hey, this could have been a savings account right now, but I'm getting way more back. Let's do it. But then I'm really critical of, like, hold on, who is, how, what in the world? How did we get here to where this is a thing, right? And you're right, like community, I'm of the utmost, like, whatever your community is, that is the foundation, that's the root, right? Like that is what we have to really hold on to. Like lyrical ones is a community, lyrical opposition is a community, my world, my people, my family, my friends, those are all a part of my community. These are my supports. These are the places that I find refuge and find healing, right? And you have to be very mindful of what you're giving your energy to, because your community could easily be harmful. Your community could easily be destroying you. And you have to be really thoughtful about who you allow into your community, right? And how you engage with your community. Because there's going to be components of your community maybe you can't change right now, right? There's going to be things that you can't really avoid. At some point, you will be able to, but you have to be focused on wanting that, right? And it's okay to want that. It's okay to find space and distance from people, right? To create healing for yourself, to create love for yourself, to create wellness for yourself, right? There's people who you love who gonna cause you harm, and you're gonna have to create those boundaries, keep them away from you, right? You're gonna have to let them be, because that's what you need. I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, it gonna be your own people. It be your mama, it could be your daddy, it could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be
You could
anybody.
be you could be in a community of individuals who don't have a community mindset, and they will be focused on what's theirs, and, and what's yours, and how they can make yours less and make theirs more.
Exactly. Comparison is a harmful tool. It is a harmful drug. When you get the game of comparison going and start realizing they have more than me, I want more than them. Now we get in the game of competing, and it's not competition. It's you trying to overdo, outgrow. That is the capitalist mindset, right? It's like, I need more. But why?
Right.
Because I
You got more
can.
bamboo shoots. You got more bamboo shoots in your bowl. But you got more soup broth in your bowl.
Yep.
But you got an extra fish cake. I mean, take your fish cake. I'm gonna take your Naruto.
For real. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, we live in a world where that's kind of like, it's such a twisted concept of how we look at it as like it's important to have, but to what degree do we set a limit for ourselves to say it's enough, right? And when do you understand there may be a threshold where having too much, like I said, I go back to the whole thing with Prop 22 and knowing that $200 million was spent on advertisements. And again, y'all do what y'all want your money. But again, I live in a country where I'm able to criticize it and I will. So $200 million is being spent to tell people what to do. And there might not have been any other way to spend that $200 million to support people towards something that would be even better. Like, imagine if that $200 million was spent on the people who work for your app based situations
And you
to
just
enrich.
pay, and you better their quality of life though.
Exactly, right? Bettering their quality of life with $200 million. Because I mean, for me, I could see that happening.
You
So,
can start a continuing education program for the folks to level up. Why because you could always get new employees. So if you're not tripping off longevity and you want to treat folks like contractors anyway, treat them like employees getting benefits, or treat them like contractors and educate them and help them move to the where they're trying to get to. Yo, if you're not trying to keep them anyway, why not send them on their way?
why not?
Better send them on their way better. It's like crazy.
Crazy, crazy. And that's the thing is that, like, for me, I'm looking at all this and I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm appreciative of the moment and seeing how people feel and seeing how it's come together, but I'm not lost in the sauce to the degree that I'm like, oh, we good. No, we not good. Like, people at work think I'm finna let up and be like, well, I mean, you could stop showing up and being present in a way that is, trying to take away the fabric of oppression and power dynamics and society, systemic racism, right? Hell nah. No, not at all. Like, you think because your biggest fear is out the way, I'm still living in the fear. I gotta work through the fear. I have to be fearless. I have to remain fearless. I have to stay fearless
I
because you
gotta be
keep trying to.
brave.
I gotta be, because y'all, yeah, what? Just because it stopped for you, it ain't stopped for me. I still gotta sit in these meetings and deal with all of these different things. And I think that right now it's one of those things that if you take away anything from episode 24 of the Lyrical Ones podcast, it's about being present. It's about applying that pressure. It's about being persistent. It's about staying and going and somehow end up being the only one on the screen. But either way it goes, I'm here, y'all. I'm gonna be persistent. I'm gonna be present. I'm gonna be powerful in everything that I can do for you. Right. So again, be present, be persistent, be powerful. Okay, don't get lost in the sauce. Like,
Dead
be
wrong.
be critical, right? Be critical to make it better, right? Not critical in the sense of tearing it down for the sake of destroying and destruction, but being critical to look at the fine points, the fine threads, the fine print, and say, what does this mean, and is it useful to where we're trying to go? Because there's a lot of archaic, outdated, freaking, like, just inflated conversation, dictation, words, documentation, whatever you want to call it. There's so much of that we hold on to and we continue bringing with us that we need to let go, right? I feel it. I could see it. I understand it. I know it. And we think that that's what makes us us. No, it is not. So many civilizations have crumbled and have failed. But what we can do is scrutinize, look in depth, and say, can we evolve into something better? Can we make something better? So again, right? Be persistent, be present, and just, let's keep pushing, keep applying that pressure because they is tripping. So with that, Affluent, do you have any final thoughts?
I think it's important to think about what it means to have freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, physical freedom, and financial freedom, spiritual freedom. Think about what those things are and be mindful of whether there is choices that you can make to keep you from jeopardizing those freedoms. And then be mindful of the government that is violent toward those freedoms. Be mindful of your local government, be mindful of your communal government, be mindful of your professional government, the things and people that make decisions, the systems that are in place that could be violent toward your freedoms, um, and brainstorm and collaborate with folks on how to stop the violence toward your freedoms. Um, and I think we have there's a lot of folks who are becoming more mindful of not just their freedoms but others' freedoms, and the violence that is occurring towards people's freedoms. Um, just the freedom to be at peace, the freedom to not see like your life all on display or endangered. So yeah, just stop the violence.
For real, in all capacities. So, with that, this has been episode 24 of the Lyrical Ones podcast. And, as we like to do at this time, we like to.
Shout out Gigi, shout out Kobe, we miss you, we love you, RIP, rest in power. Episode 24, Black Mama Mentality. 11/11, happy 1 month, young nephew. One, 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 one.